Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us today for our FY 2022 Public Facilities Application Workshop. Next slide, please. So I just want to, this is the agenda for today. Just want to go over it quickly. We're going to go through the important dates. We're going to go through the application package. We're going to have engineering, census and household survey, and then final notes. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box. We have someone monitoring that during the presentation, and we will answer your questions there, or if we cannot answer them today, we'll do a Q&A sheet for you. Next, please. So important dates. So October 22nd, 2021 is the anticipated due date for the requests to DEQ regarding sewer treatment projects. And then due to the hurricane and other items that we have due in the office, the deadline for full applications to be received in our office is February 28th of 2022. So the application package can be found on our website under LCDBG programs. This is the application package. It was posted yesterday around probably 5 o'clock, so it's available now. So the application process. So phase 1 was the project severity packages that were submitted to OCD LGA on June 20th of 2021. Phase 2 is the FY 2022 program eligible applicants that met the threshold determination of on July 30th of 2021, and the top 70% of applicants that met that threshold requirement on the determination date were invited. The invitations to apply were issued on August 20th, 2021, and full applications must be received in our office by February 28th of 2022. Please note that the documents or the applications must be received in our office, not merely postmarked, by February 28th of 2022. Applications can be sent to our office using next day, priority mail, FedEx, etc. Again, applications that are not physically in our office on February 28th will not be considered for funding. Please send the application to our physical address, and you only need to submit one copy of your application. So the preliminary review, we will determine if your application was received by the deadline, that all required documents were included, and household survey was conducted on a random basis if applicable, and determine if the proposed activity is an eligible CDBG activity. The size of the grants. So the state has established the following funding ceilings for public facility grants. $1.2 million for sewer treatment, $1 million for new sewer collection, $1 million for existing sewer collection rehabilitation, $1 million for potable water, $800,000 for streets. A minimum construction amount of $200,000 must be included in the project. Those projects that do not involve a minimum of $200,000 will not be considered for funding or scored in any way. Applicants with a population more than 12,000 and parishes with an unincorporated population of 25,000 can apply for up to $2 million for a sewer or water project and $1.6 million for a street project. So the rating criteria, the maximum points available are 73. Benefit to low to moderate income persons is 1 point. Cost effectiveness is 10 points. Your project severity score up to 50. Engineering costs 2. Consolidation of systems is 4 points. Resiliency criteria is 2 points. Application completeness is 2 points. And past performance is 2 points. So benefit to low to moderate income persons, projects that benefit at least 60% low moderate income persons will receive the point. Please note that all projects must benefit at least 51% low moderate income persons. Cost effectiveness is 10 points. The cost per person benefiting will be calculated for each project. All applications will be categorized by the type of project being proposed. Each sewer application will fall into 3 subcategories for the purpose of ranking. If the construction cost for new sewer systems improvements is equal or greater than 70% of the total construction cost, the application will be assigned to the new sewer system subcategory. If the construction cost for new sewer system improvements is less than 70% of the total construction cost, or no new sewer systems improvements are proposed, the application will be assigned to either the sewer system rehabilitation subcategory or the sewer treatment subcategory. If the construction cost of the sewer system rehabilitation is equal or greater than the treatment plant improvements, the application will be assigned to the sewer system rehabilitation subcategory. Otherwise, it will be assigned to the sewer subtreatment category. Each project category will then be split into 2 population groups. The split for each project category will be based on the average value of the total persons benefiting per project, which will be computed by dividing the sum of the total persons benefiting. After eliminating the highest and lowest number of beneficiaries for each category for the calculation, by the number of applications for the category, one group will consist of projects having a larger number of total persons benefiting than the average value, and the second group will consist of those projects having a smaller number of total persons benefiting than the average value. So the cost of, no, you can go back. So the street projects beneficiaries will be those residents whose EMS 911 address is identified as being on one of the streets designated for construction work. If a portion of the street is being improved, only those residents whose EMS 911 address is identified within the portion of the street will be being improved. For sewer projects, if construction costs for newer sewer improvements is less than 70% of the total construction cost, or no new sewer system improvements are proposed, the application will be reassigned to either rehab or treatment. If the construction cost of the rehab is equal or greater than the treatment plant improvements, then the applicant will be assigned to rehab. Next slide. Project severity. Based on the severity of the existing conditions, these were the applications that were due in June. The ranking of the scores has been posted on our website. So, engineering cost, the payment of engineering costs associated with the implementation of the proposed project. If you are paying for engineering costs, the chief elected official must sign a certification and include a copy of the resolution by the local government identifying the firm hired and proposed amount of contract. The resolution must state that the local funds will be used to pay the engineering fees and any other engineering cost incurred. Consolidation of systems is 4 points. Consolidation of 2 or more existing water sewer systems into one larger system. Purchase only systems do not qualify for these points. Resiliency criteria. Applicants must make sure the specific public improvements that are being applied for are being addressed directly in the existing resiliency plan. The local government must formally adopt the resiliency plan in order to ensure its credibility. Applications that include a resiliency plan as a separate attachment to the project description will receive these points. Application completeness. 1 point will be awarded for all applications forms and required documents included in the application, and 1 point will be awarded if we determine that no revisions are needed to score the application. Past performance. Applicants will receive points unless one or more of the following is applicable when reviewing past performance of any grants funded to the applicant during the 2016-2021 LCDBG program years. A second contract or contract extension was required in order to complete and or close out the grant. Penalties were assessed at any time during the grant due to failure to meet a required benchmark. And a finding of deficiency was identified as very serious that was issued during the grant. Other funds for construction the entity will need to provide documentation to substantiate the availability of funds. If the application is funded, we will contact the applicant prior to grant award to request positive proof of current availability of other funds, and this must be provided to us within 10 calendar days.
I'm Jeff Tessier.
Start.
Oh, it's okay. I'm Jeff Tessier. I am the engineer for the Office of Community Development. I just want to let you know the engineering fee schedule and policies that we're going to talk about are on the OCD website. Like I said earlier, this PowerPoint presentation will also be on the website. We have a Facebook page and it will be posted to YouTube. If you don't understand something, please read through the policy thoroughly. And if something's still unclear, please give me a call. Question I'm going to address first is, has anything changed from the severity package? Next slide. I know severity packages were recently submitted, but you may have gotten some extra thought, heard of some new technology or something that's been successful in other areas of the state. Are there some things you want to change? So let's look at the first thing, which may be, has anything changed with the project scope? There may be instances where the proposed fix needs to be modified because of further analysis, new information regarding existing conditions, new technology, or just a better solution. Sometimes with a street grant, street in the meantime has gotten fixed and needs to be removed from the application. Sewer rehab, a good example of that is you submitted port repairs and lining, and after further thought, you want to just be easier just to put a new sewer line. So that might be something in the scope you want to change. Or sewer treatment, you may want to go from a packaged plant to actually fixing the lagoon and adding aerators. So if something with the project scope has changed, please let us know, and we'll be happy to talk that out with you. Next slide. Has anything changed with the project cost? This is very relevant, especially given the times we're in right now with COVID and hurricanes and other things. It's all I've heard from engineers is how much the prices have gone up. So like I said, like on here, construction costs can fluctuate. Asphalt prices, PVC prices, they vary with the cost of oil. They vary with the manufacturers that have been hurt by hurricanes and other things. So all that can change. Tariffs, taxes, wage rates, all can change and have a big impact on the total cost. Severity score will not change, unless you remove a street, but severity score will not change. This is important to all this. The goal of this is to make sure the application that you submit is current and accurate, because this is something you're going to have to live with for quite a while. So be very cognizant that you can change the project cost, but give it lots of thought. So next. The engineering fee schedule and policy, it is on our website. Like I said earlier, not a lot has changed with it over the last 2 years, but it is on there, so please read it carefully. Next. Basic services. The basic services fee table and RPR services table have been expanded to include up to $2 million construction costs. I'm going to repeat this a lot today. These tables are to provide a maximum allowable cost, and I'll get into details of that in just a minute. This is the table that is in the policy that's online. Okay, next. Okay, this is what's covered under basic services. None of this has changed. I'm just putting this up there to let you know that it's all online, as detailed as possible, but it essentially is for the engineer to design the project, for the engineer to go through the the bidding of the project through construction services, change orders, etc., and to perform all the closeout that you need for the project. So again, all this is online. Nothing really has changed with this part. Next. Additional services. We do allow for additional services. We have them listed here. If you need to provide property surveys, there's acquisition. We'll pay for property surveys. Construction staking is something that the engineer performs for the contractor. If you have a survey crew, that'll do that for the contractor. We will provide, cover that cost. Extensive topo beyond what's covered in the purposes of design. If there's something unique to your project, you need an additional day or two for topo, we will pay for that. Any testing or any geotechnical services, we will pay for that. I do need a full description and a cost breakdown of all requests in your application. So next, RPR table. Again, like I said earlier, this is the maximum allowable fee that we will allow for RPR. Okay, next. Additional RPR services or fees. There are some items that we feel require additional resident project representative services, some more inspection services. The items are listed here. Any main line, water or sewer, gravity sewer pipes, water distribution pipes, borings, force mains, fittings, fire hydrants, canal crossings, tapping sleeves, valves, flushing risers, etc. We will also, this is new from 2 years ago, water wells and tanks are eligible items for additional fees. Not eligible are sewer manholes, sewer services, water services, and other mainline items. But very important, when requesting increased inspection fees, I need a detailed list of all the eligible items, and the increased RPR fees must be included in the application. So I need to know what you're asking for. Okay, so next. Basic services and resident project representatives. From the table, again, this is to give you a maximum allowable fee. A guide to cost reasonableness, the maximum allowable fees will be based on the CDBG tables. Federal procurement regulations forbid using a percentage of the estimated construction costs as a basis of the contract award. As part of the cost reasonableness determination, the contractor, and this is what's changed for the engineer, will need to provide a cost breakdown showing all elements of the scope of work. Next. This is the old way. You had $1 million project, you got 8%, you just put an $80,000 line, $80,000 line for design, and that's all you had to do. But this is, like I said, this is the change. That's the old way, and this is the new way. Next. The new way, scope of services broken down into tasks, hours to complete those tasks, direct and overhead costs to complete the task. Go ahead. William Hall has put a spreadsheet on our website. So if you're unfamiliar, not sure what we're talking about, this is something you can look at or use as a starting point or as a go-by. Next. For all those that do work for DOTD, I know the city of Baton Rouge, and I think the city of Shreveport uses something very similar to this table. This is something you can submit. This shows all the tasks, the hours that each discipline will use to complete those tasks. And then down at the bottom, we have the pay scale for each task needed, and summed up at the bottom with overhead and profit. If there is a format, like I said, DOTD, City of Baton Rouge, City of Shreveport, if there's a format that the engineers are comfortable with, but you're unsure, why don't you send us an example and let us review that format of how you come up with your costs. We'll be happy to review it and get back with you if we need any changes, or if we think it's a good format. So If you have any questions, what I've talked about today, please feel free to give me a call or to email me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Layla. I'll be showing you how to create your ABFs through census and survey data. So this is just some basic info for each target area. There needs to be at least a 51% LMI, and it needs to have its own ABF. If there's a need for multiple activity beneficiary forms, which we'll go over later, they do need to be combined and have the recalculated LMI. The ABF should be labeled system-wide, target area, or combined. Next slide, please. Census data should be used when available, except when the LMI of the entity is below 51%, but the margin of error range falls above 51%. If this happens, you may survey the entity to do a town-wide project. Next slide. These are the links on HUD Exchange that will bring you to the necessary census data. The first link provides info about summary information for local government, and the second shows the same summary data, but distributed by block groups. Next slide. This is what will come up if you click on the first link from the previous slide. The first link on this page lists out Excel sheets with stats for all the local governments. And the second link will show you with a column including the margin of error. Next slide. This is the link that'll come up whenever you click for the margin of error. It'll open it up, it'll have all of these columns. You do have to scroll down to the section on Louisiana to be able to get all the relevant census data. If it goes above 51% in the low mod percentage column, then you don't have to do a survey. If it goes below 51%, but the margin of error low mod percentage column puts it above 51%, you can do a survey on that area. Next slide. To determine the sample size of your surveyed population, you can go to the first link on this slide, choose 95% as the confidence level, enter 5 as the confidence interval, and enter the population of your target area, and then click calculate. You'll print out a copy of this page showing the sample size needed. Using the second link, you can re-enter the population number and it will calculate the sequence that you'll need to go in. You'll also print this page and follow the sequence of numbers corresponding to residents in your target area to survey the sample size you previously calculated. The numbers for your residents will be labeled on the map that you submit for your survey data. Next slide. To find your income limits, you'll follow this link, make sure that 2021 is highlighted on the page, and click on Info for FY 2021 IL documentation. You'll choose Louisiana, the parish that your grantee is in, and then click View County Calculations. Surveys conducted for the previous cycle are perfectly okay to use. Next slide. The first link on this page will take you to our website where you'll find links for household survey forms. And if you're unsure how to fill it out, there's also a household survey form instructions page. Next slide, please. This will come up whenever you click on household survey forms. You'll notice the columns listing out the addresses, the map key with corresponding residences, head of household info, household income range info, racial identity, and the columns for hookups if it's a new system. Next slide. So just some common mistakes that come up with the survey forms. Make sure to always use the newest form available. It'll always be on our website and it should be labeled by year. If the survey is random and you had to use the sequence generator, just make sure that you list them by number key from the sequence generator. And if you end up having to survey 100%, then you can just put them on in numerical order. If the project does involve hookups and new systems, the last column needs to be completed. Next slide. So this form is the projected occupied households. This is a calculation that you have to do that's separate from your survey form. And it'll go into filling out all of your other forms. Next slide. This is one of those. All of the information from the survey forms and the calculation from occupied households will be filled in on here. Next slide. This will then bring you to filling out this form that involves the survey tabulation form, the household survey forms, and projected occupied household forms. That'll make this projection sheet, which will finally lead you to the ABF. Next slide. So your final ABF form will look something like this. Just remember, if there's going to be census data used or multiple target areas, each target area needs to have their own form. If census data needs to have its own form, and then it all needs to come together to be one combined ABF at the end. But we will require a copy of every single form. Next slide. The most common mistakes using these last few forms are inputting the incorrect number of total occupied households, because it is a separate calculation that you have to do. Not changing the LMI when converting from survey tabulation to ABF. That LMI will change a little bit just as you incorporate more and more data into it. And the last common mistake is leaving the rehab loans and grants section blank if there are in fact hookups on the project. If you do have any questions on calculating or submitting census and survey data forms, you can always reach out to me via email. It'll be listed on the last slide of this presentation. And I think Christy is going to go ahead and wrap up with some final thoughts.
So thank y'all again for joining us. So just a few final notes before we wrap up. So all sewer or water projects funded with the LCDBG funds will be required to have a rate study conducted by a firm hired by OCD LGA. If the rate study determines that a rate increase is necessary, then the local government will be required to take action to address the rate increase, or grant funds will not be released. If a local government is on the LLA noncompliance list for 10 days prior to grant award, the local government is not eligible to be funded. This presentation is not all-inclusive, and the application package should be reviewed in its entirety. Please follow us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page that we post all of our programs and projects, important dates, due dates. It's a great tool for you to use. If it's not on the website, it'll definitely be on the Facebook page as well. Thank y'all so much. Here's our contact information. If y'all need anything, please let us know. And I hope y'all have a great day. Thank y'all.